Disruption. There is a fallacy about changing markets that when things change, it will happen slowly. And the balances will sway over years and decades, giving ample chance to get things sorted. But, well, yes, that is just a fallacy. It will be fast and many will fall by the wayside, unable to change fast enough to stay relevant, and new names will rise to prominence. And this is the way it has always been and the way it will continue to be. Now, the next decade is not going to be seeing just one or two industries change hand and being disrupted whilst all else is kept equal. It is going to see everything change. You see, we are hitting a convergence of many different technologies, spanning transport, energy, food, materials and information. The impact will be of a magnitude never witnessed before, and it is already starting to unroll before our very eyes. In the beginning, they came for the Word document, and I did not speak up. Lol. You see, slowly we have been realising that everything can be digitised, giving us a greater choice at a better cost than ever before, whenever and wherever we want it. From food to sex to retail therapy, everything is now online. I think we have all seen the battles of audio and visual rights and revenues over the last few years, but you see, that is because the disruption has already happened for those industries. The world streams their music and video now, well, most do anyway, to any device you want, at home, on your smart TV, out and about to your smartphone or tablet. And yet a decade ago, the smartphone barely even had a foothold, never mind near universal uptake. This is the infamous S-curve, barely imperceptible at the beginning from 0 to 5 or 10%, followed by a much faster take-up to a saturation point and then slowing down for the last 5 or 10%. So what can the next decade hold? The one before ushered in some incredible stuff, it has to be said. Well, you see, that was just the prelude. It's now time for the storm. These are some of the areas that are set for game-changing advances and choices in the next decade. Artificial intelligence, machine learning and predictive analytics, precision biology, robotics, solar PV and clean energy, batteries, sensors and the Internet of Things, 3D printing, 3D visualization, the mobile internet and cloud, big data versus open data, general computing, especially quantum, blockchain, unmanned aerial vehicles and nanosatellites, chemical recycling, natural polymers and organic materials. And this is by no means a complete list. New ideas and technologies will proliferate ever faster, and interlinked technologies show the arenas that bring forth the game-changing new ideas, like the iPhone changed communication patterns. These will change everything else. All these are set to come of age in ways most people have no concept of. How will global markets morph? How will supply and demand change? What impact can the consumer have through conscious consumerism with an ageing population, but maybe one that is fitter and more active than at any time in history? How will seamless, affordable mobility change you and everyone else? Where will the sharing economy take us? How will decentralization and tokenization change the whole landscape of the digital world we have so far created? Can we make a new decentralized system more inherently fair, more sustainable, and not driven by greed and control? At the intersection of different categories is where you will find massive market traumas as the cheaper, more efficient model comes in and undercuts the old guard, quickly eliminating the weakest and gutting what managed to survive the transition. So we will examine what might happen If you bring together, say, cheap energy production, such as wind and solar, with ever cheaper batteries, you have the ability to disrupt the electric grid supplies the world over, eliminating very expensive peaker plants initially, and equally viable for the baseload operations in the long run. And then you have transport, for instance. Your car that gets you from A to B, obviously, it does so few miles, it rusts before it comes to the end of its mechanical life. And it will have cost a small fortune in servicing to get it to that point, without even considering the time it takes you to get it serviced and fueled and cleaned. Or you could go with transport as a service. If that autonomous point-to-point transportation cost is lower than the cost to even just put fuel in your petrol or diesel tank, well, would you even bother to operate your car except for special occasions maybe? You see, car sales are already on decline. Less people are buying cars, less people are learning to drive, and those that can drive, more and more are selling their vehicles and just using transport as a service. So car companies will move from supplying mostly individual consumers driving 10,000 kilometers a year to fleet car owners for vehicles doing 100 or 200,000 kilometers a year. As the autonomous model comes into play and undercuts everyone, and people en masse start to make that same decision, well, companies will thrive to fill the demand. The 2020s is going to be the most disruptive decade there has ever been, and maybe ever will be. But where the last great era ushered in titans that spawned so many trillion-dollar companies, new companies will arrive to solve new problems in unique ways, to hopefully make life a little bit better in some small way. So bookmark this point to look back at in the future, because this is the decade that shapes tomorrow. The way we exit this decade could form the basis for our transition past the singularity, where we gain and surpass a general level artificial intelligence and an almost infinite convergence of interlinked feedback loops powering a rate of change, well, at which point we can only offer ideas about what may lie ahead. I'm going to look at them all one by one as we imagine the shape of things to come. So keep your eyes peeled for the next video where I will investigate the disruption of the energy industry. I mean, everything you do is connected to electricity, is it not? It powers the globe, and it is going to change how we generate it, how we store it, how we share it, and how we use it. They are all ripe for disruption. So join me as we have a fun journey into what may be. Thanks for dropping by.